Hi, and welcome back to ClassBox Java automation scripts. So today we will write our first piece of code, finally, in which we will create an instance of the WebDriver using our Selenium jars. We'll use the instance to create, or rather to navigate to a web page. We'll then check something on the web page, and then we'll close the driver for good measure. So the first thing we're going to do is quite simply just create a new project and just make sure everything's ready. So we're going to go File, New, Java Project. Let's give it a name. What would be a good name? My first WebDriver test. Java 1.7 is fine. Go to the next page. Just add in our Selenium jars. So let's just do that. Open, finish, and there you go. We're done. So the first thing I'm going to do is create an instance of driver. So if you know what an instance means in Java, well, I suppose for those who aren't entirely sure what that means, I'll just give a really abstract example of it. So in Java we have objects, which are essentially a copy of something which allows us to gain access to some methods, and as a result we are able to act on the newly created object individually. So for example, let's just say we have an object, we have something of type animal, and we create a new copy of that animal and we call it a cat. Then we can use that newly created cat and do stuff on the cat instance without having to touch the original animal. So what that means is, if we want to make more animals or other types of animals, we can just keep on creating a copy of that animal for different types of animals, for example a dog or a mouse. So the focus here is that we create a copy of the original and go from there. So what that means is we have those Selenium jars, which are effectively methods inside of classes, and we want to be able to access those methods. We'll kind of dive into those methods in greater detail as we go on. But for this tutorial, the methods are quite simply to be able to use stuff like being able to open up a web page, or being able to navigate to a website and doing various checks. So let's begin with that. So for our test, we're just going to create a new class, a new Java class. We'll give it the name main. That's fine, everything's fine. Finish that. And we're basically going to run our test as if it was kind of the core part of the application. So some of you might be saying, why don't we do it in JUnit, which is kind of more catered for running tests. We won't at the moment, not on this instance. The focus of this video is purely to just get to grips of how to start up a really basic test. JUnit probably will take a little bit more explanation. I want to keep the focus of that for another video. Right. So the first thing we do is let's just create a really quick method. Public static void main return string, I suppose. Well, take an argument of string. Right. So there's our method stuff. Right. So to create an instance of WebDriver, what we need to do is get the driver and give it a name, and say it's equal to a new WebDriver. Right. Now, to explain this a little bit more, so this is the name of the WebDriver. This is like the class name of the WebDriver, and this is the copy that we're trying to create, which is an instance of this. So driver is an instance of WebDriver, and what we're saying is we're going to create a new WebDriver. So when we create a new WebDriver, what it essentially is, we're basically asking Java that I want to create a copy of this, I want to give it the name of this, and the copy that I want to create should be of type this. And we're actually going to change this to a Firefox, because I've got Firefox installed on my machine. So we've got red lines. The red lines is because Java isn't able to find the necessary imports to fix that. So let's do that. If we just do that and just go, let's go import WebDriver and go there. Oh, it's really slow. Just hover your mouse over it. It can take some time. Shouldn't take too long. And you should get a pop-up which then says import to Firefox. So now what we've essentially done is just imported our the libraries which are needed up here, which can now allow us to use driver. So now we're actually going to use driver. So this was to create an instance of WebDriver. Now I just wanted to kind of stress that originally I actually wanted to keep these videos down to no more than 10 minutes, but after kind of experimenting I think that's a little difficult, so I'm going to try and keep it around the 10 minutes mark. I'm going to do my best, but I run the risk of not either explaining something properly, which I kind of do want to do properly. Right, so now what we're going to do is we're going to now use this copy of driver to actually go to a website. Now the website we're going to use to run our tests from here on out is a website that I made, which are part of this tutorial. So the website I've made is called JUnit. It's a really dummy, rudimentary version of a JUnit website. I don't want to use websites like YouTube or Google or various other sites purely because it's not really nice, if I'm being honest, to use a website to run tests on without their permission. There's several other kind of security reasons as well, but ideally, as part of this tutorial, I'm just gonna use my own website on my own web space, just not to kind of upset anyone. So website is really simple. It's still at its infancy stages. It's got nothing really heavy duty, but our test at the moment won't be very heavy duty anyway. Right, so what we're going to do is we're going to call driver, then use the dot. The dot is basically used to get a collection of all the methods inside driver, and we're going to use the method called navigate, which is that, and then dot on that, and then a 2, and what this will allow us to do is go to a website, and the website we're going to go to is my one. So what this will do is this will go to web page. So what this will do is this is going to use our copy of WebDriver. It's going to call the navigate method on it, and then the to method, and then we pass it an argument here which is a URL, and what driver will do is it'll take all of this and it translate it into a web page. So when we do this, it's going to make a new copy of driver, and it's going to use the Firefox as the browser. So it's going to open up a browser, and then it's going to navigate to this particular URL. So once we've done this, what we want to do is, so what will happen is it will effectively go here. This is where it's going to go. So once we're on this page, what we want to do is, because at this point we just want to do a really basic test, what we're going to do is we're just going to navigate to the about page, and then we're just going to check that the title of this page is about zoo. So to break it down, our first step is open up a web page, give it a Firefox browser type, go to this web page, and then click on the about link, then check that the about page has the about zoo title, and then we're gonna close the driver. Right, so how do we do this? How do we actually how do we click on something on a page? Right, so to click on something on a page, what you need to do is you need to use the kind of inner lining HTML code of the page. You can't just tell WebDriver to click on about link without giving it information. It needs a little bit more information, and the way it does it is by using WebDriver locators or driver locators. So let me explain what driver locators are. To access a driver locator, we need to use the instance of driver, so driver, then dot, and then we call a method called find element. Now what find element does is that we're asking the driver to look on the page and to look for various elements on the page. And an element on a page is, well, it can be almost anything. This can be an element, text can be an element, a link can be an element, excuse me, an entire content area can be an element, the entire page can be an element. Elements are effectively things on a page, or i.e. elements on a page. And to identify an element on a WebDriver level, we need to ask it to effectively go to this page and then fetch something from this page. And the way we actually ask driver to find something on a page is to look at the HTML code of an element on a page. So if we're on the home link, so let's just make sure we're at home, so we're on home, and we ask driver to come and click on this link, we need to basically tell driver, when you're on this page, click on this link. And the information we need to provide it is the HTML underlining. So if we were to right click on this and maybe look at the properties, or rather let's just look at the page source. So what the page source does is it basically contains the HTML code of the entire page. So if we were to look here, how can we identify this to be of this page? What we see is, if you look, this link here, which is this link there, when you click on this, this is where it goes to the about HTML page. So we effectively need to use code on this line here to help it identify where the link is on the page. So if we look here, right, what it says is we've got various kind of tags and attributes to this, and we can see that it has a href attribute with the value of about.html, and it has an id attribute with the value of about underscore link. So we can use this to navigate, or for WebDriver to find this particular information. So let's see what kind of locators WebDriver provides, and see if there's any way for us to grab this information. So if we go back to our code, find element, that's probably supposed to be quickly. So if I just start again, so we go find, and it's given us 2, so that's the one we're using. You can see here it's got a by, so we do by dot. So now it's saying we can use these various locators. So driver.findElements is a way of saying find me an element, and then when we use by, which is effectively saying by this type of element type, we get a selection of different elements we can use. So if we look down, we have by class name, CSS locators, ID, which sounds familiar because we remember seeing an ID attribute, link text, name, partial link, tag name. We'll go into these in more detail after some time. ID sounds good to me because we saw an ID. So let's just go ID, and it's expecting a string. It's saying give me a string. So if we go back to our source, the ID of this value was about to underscore link. So if we just use that, now what we've just done is we've said driver find elements on a page which has an attribute of type ID with a value of about link. So we just asked driver that there's something on the page, it's got an ID of about link, and the final thing we need to do is actually click on it. So if we do a dot at the end of find elements, because notice that all of this is contained inside the by, so this dot is now referring to any kind of chained methods which can be called on find, and we'll go here. We can now call all of these attributes, or rather all of these methods, and the one we're interested in for the moment is click, which basically says click on this element. So to translate what's happening here, we're saying get the driver and find me an element. The element has an ID attribute with a value of about link, and then click on it, and that's it. So right, so the next step we said we were going to do is look at the title on the page and then just make sure that the page that we navigated to is correct. So what we're going to do is we're going to go to we don't need this for the moment. We're going to go back, we're going to click on about, and the title of that page is about zoo. So let's just remember that for the moment. So what we need to do is again get our instance of driver, so it's driver dot, and what we're going to do is get the title. So if we do get, and notice that as we're typing in filters, we use this method here, get title. And well, actually let me go back and show you something real quickly. If you look here, this says get title colon string. So what that means is this method returns us a string. So we can now actually store this information. So if you say string title is equal to driver.getTitle, title now contains the information that getTitle gives us, i.e. driver.getTitle will give us the name of the tab of the current page we're on, and then we store that information in this title. So to make sure we're on the right page, what we're going to do is we're going to say if, which is just a Boolean condition which basically checks to see whether something is true or false. We're going to say if title tle dot equals, so here, and notice this says it's going to return us Boolean, i.e. a true or a false result, equals, and we're going to say about zoo. So does this match our tab name? It does, yep, about zoo. Then we're going to say system dot out dot println what this method does is this just outputs a statement or outprints rather information to a console. So in this instance we're just printing out a hard-coded string. We're just going to say what should we say, found the about page with the value of title. Otherwise system.out.println did not find page with the well, actually we'll say instead found page with title semicolon. So what this means is we're saying if title, i.e. the value stored in this string, equals, or in other words is the same as this value here about zoo, then we will print out a message to the console here saying found the about page with the value of title, i.e. whatever the value of title is in there, which should be about zoo. Otherwise, if this is not true, in other words, if the title does not contain this, then instead print out this message saying instead found a page with title, and this title would contain whatever the value of title is. Note that the value of title isn't tied to the about page, it's whatever the value of the page is at that point in time. And the last thing we're going to do is we're just going to close the driver, which is quite simply, again, you probably would have guessed this by now, we get the instance of driver dot, and then close, semicolon. So let's just run through this one more time. We're going to create a new instance of Firefox. Sorry, we're going to create a new instance of the driver with a browser type of Firefox. We're going to navigate to this URL. We're going to find the about link, which is identified by the ID attribute with the value of about link, and click on it. We're then going to get the title of the page that we're currently on, and we expect the title of the page to be about zoo, which will print this message to the console. Otherwise it'll be whatever it is. So let's just run it now. Now to run it, it's quite simple. Because it's the main method, we can just run the application. So we just run here. It probably asks us, do you want to save or something like that? I'd imagine. Maybe not. Let's see. Alright, so it should be running. Let's see. It's probably just taking its time because this is the first time running. So it's run. It's gone to the URL. Ooh, it said cannot find URL because I've made a typo. Right, okay, close that. So this is actually quite good. It said unable to find element locator this because we aren't on that page. So let's let's correct my typo first. ANCER. Right, that should now work. So let's run it one more time. So it's opened the page, gone there, it's gone to the clicked on about, and then it said, and note that this is actually relatively quite fast. It did click on the about link, and it did find the title, and it's printed out saying found the page with the value of about zoo, which is perfect. It's worked. Now just to make sure that our test still works, we're going to kind of fail it on purpose. So what we're going to do is we're going to go here, we're going to look at the source again, and instead of going to the about page, let's go to the contact link ID instead. So let's just change that. So now what's going to happen is it's going to go to the contact page as opposed to the about page. It's going to get the title, and it won't hit here because the title wouldn't have contained equals. It wouldn't have equaled about zoo. It would have equaled whatever the value of title is on the contact page. So instead, this will print out with whatever the value of title is. So let's give that a go. Run it. So it's gone there, gone to the URL, it's clicked on contact, and it's closed the web page, and it said instead found page with contact. So if we have a quick look, does it indeed say contact? So if I go to contact, yeah, it says contact. So there you go. We now know our test works. Well, in the sense that it's broken, or it's not working, in the sense that we're not getting the expected result. We're getting a result other than the expected result. But in essence, it's doing what we want it to do. So that's really it. The focus of this video was to just show you how to start up Driver with a very specific type of web browser, how to navigate or go to a URL, how to then use one of the locators, i.e. the by ID locators, to find something on a web page and then click on it. We then did some really basic means of trying to check something on the page by getting the title of the tab of the page we're currently on, and then using that information to output to the console effectively a confirmation message saying we were either on the right page or we weren't on the right page, and then also give us a little bit more information about the page we were on. And that was really it. In our next video, what I'll do is I'll use this exact same test, i.e. the test will be exactly the same, but instead of doing it in this main method, i.e. in a kind of bog standard method, we'll use JUnit, because JUnit is much more catered for writing tests, and I'll explain why in the video as well. So yeah, thanks a lot. Do subscribe. If there's anything that was a bit unclear, do leave a message below. And yeah, I should have the next video up and running soonish. If you'd like any more extra information, do let me know. Thanks a lot. Ciao.